We've got a very special program for you today featuring filmmaker Jim Brown, folk music legend Pete Seeger, the subject of Jim's latest documentary, The Power of Song, and first up, one of our favorite guests on Mixed Bag Radio over the years, our friend Roger McGuinn.
Oh, what will you give me? Say the sad bells of Romney. Is there hope for the future? Say the sound bells of Merthyr. Who made the mine owner? Say the black bells of Rhonda. And who killed the miner? Say the grim bells of Blina. For the vandals in court, say the bells of Newport. All will be well if say the green bells of Cardiff. Why so worried, sisters, why? Say the silver bells of Wye. And what will you give me? Say the sad bells of Romney. They will plunder willy-nilly. Say the bells of Caerphilly. They have fangs, they have teeth. Shout the loud bells of Meath. Even God is uneasy. Say the moist bells of Swansea. And what will you give me? Say the sad bells of Romney.
Roger McGuinn and a live version of Pete Seeger's Bells of Rumney. We'll explain that in just a second. Unless you think that Roger was playing both banjo and guitar at the same time, that's not exactly true. Through the wizardry of state-of-the-art technology, Pete Seeger is joining us from the studios of WBNR near his home in Beacon, New York. Pete.
He's on his 12-string.
On his 12.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, no banjo. Roger, I can't tell you how proud I am to think that the song that I put together, like 40 or 50 years ago, is sung so beautifully, and how you managed to do it all.
Thank you so much, Pete. Well, I just want to carry the torch on for you.
Pete, it's funny you should say that, because I was going to ask you first off how you feel about these young whippersnappers like Roger doing your material.
I feel like old grandpa, and I'm very, very proud. These songs I put together, never thinking that anybody but me would ever sing them. The words were written by a man who had been a coal miner in Wales. And during the general strike of 1926, he put new words to actually an old English rhyme. It was called "Oranges and lemons go the bells of St. Clemens." And he made up his own Welsh version of it. And years later, he left coal mining and became a school teacher. And a little book, a volume of verse came out. And I happened to be reading an essay by Dylan Thomas, the famous Welsh writer. And it was the chapter was Welsh poems in the English language. And there was these verses, and I started making up a new tune. Of course, the tune is derivative. If you analyze it, it's one more version of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. You go up to the fifth note of the scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Down, down, dee, 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 dee. That's nothing more than a different version of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star.
It's a beautiful melody, Pete.
Question. We knew it for years, Pete, or we called it the Bells of Rhymney, but that's not accurate, is it?
That's how it's spelt. R-H-Y-M-N-E-Y. But there they pronounce it more like Rumney. Rumney.
And, we should talk about the relationships between all of the people on the program today. We'll get to Jim Brown in just a minute. But, Roger, I know that Pete was an influence on you. You've told me a story about a concert that got canceled.
Yes, in Chicago at the Navy Pier. It must have been 1957 or 58. And I had a banjo. It was a Vega long neck banjo, which Pete had invented, and I bought one, and I had it with me at the concert. I mean, the concert was canceled, unfortunately, but I went to the Navy Pier not knowing that, and Pete, being the wonderful man that he is, didn't want to let anybody down who'd come to the concert. He was standing out on the loading dock of the concert hall in the back, and he was putting on an impromptu concert for all of us kids who wanted to see him. And I had my banjo with me, and I talked to him briefly. I was like 16 years old, and he was wonderful. I asked him a few questions. I said, to what do you attribute your popularity? Because he was really popular. That he was filling the orchestra hall and wonderful concert halls around the country at that time. And he said, I think it's because I get people singing along with me, and they hear themselves singing, and then they like me. Something like that.
I don't think things have changed much in the almost half a century since.
No, and it was wonderful advice. I do that myself, and it works.
Yeah. So now you might have met that day, but your personal relationship didn't start until many years later. In fact, I also remember you telling me that at the time the Byrds did Turn, 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 the only communication you had with Pete at that point was a letter?
That's right. He wrote a letter to the Byrds. He didn't know any of us individually. He said, Dear Byrds, I really like the way you perform Turn, Turn, Turn. My only musical query is why did you not repeat the chorus? And the reason for that was for time, because back in AM radio, time was a very, limited quantity, and so we had to keep records under 3 minutes. Uh-huh. And I think Turn, Turn, Turn was 3:30, which was, hard to play on the radio at that time.
Then Don McLean came along and sang Bye Bye America Pie, which lasted for 8 minutes.
And then Arlo came along with his 16-minute version of Alice's Restaurant.
Yeah. Pete, can you corroborate Roger's story about your feelings about the Byrds' version of Turn, Turn, Turn?
I was amazed by what those four voices did. They had extraordinary harmony. It really was extraordinary. Something which no classical musician would have ever tried. Great big parallel chords, one after the other. Wham, 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 wham.
There's even a great story of how that came to be a song in the first place. Would you mind telling it yet again, Pete?
Well, I think the year was around 1958 or 59. I get a letter from one of my publishers. It says, Pete, can't you write another song like Goodnight Irene? I can't market these protest songs you keep writing. And I was a little angry. I jotted him a note saying, you better get yourself another songwriter. This is the only kind of song I know how to write. And I pulled these words out of my pocket. I'd jotted them down in my little pocket notebook. after reading the book of Ecclesiastes in the Old Testament. And I improvised a tune on the spot and had a reel-to-reel tape recorder and sent it to the publisher. And well, he got it to the Byrds. I don't know how he did it. But also he sent me a nice note, just what I was looking for, thanks.
Well, the way I learned it, Pete, I heard you do it in concert just after you'd written it, because I went to all of your concerts. And then I worked with Judy Collins, and she did that on her third album, and that was my second exposure to it. And then I was working with the Byrds, and somebody asked me if I knew it, and I pulled out my guitar and came up with a slightly different arrangement of it, a couple of different chords, and that's
a couple of different notes, too. When I sing a B, you're singing a C.
Right.
And when I sing an A, you're singing a B. And when I'm singing a G, you're singing an A.
I hope you don't mind
ended
that
up singing...
we rearranged
Not at all. Some of my friends said that, oh, Pete, you should stick to the way you do it. No, I say, everybody else is singing it the Byrds way. I'll sing it that way.
Oh, boy.
Ultimate compliment there.
That is. I'm very pleased.
Wasn't there a bus ride involved?
Yes, we were on a tour bus out in mid-America somewhere, and somebody asked me if I knew how to play Turn, 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 and I pulled my guitar out, and I came up with the version that we did.
You were looking for a follow-up. Let's see. Tambourine Man had happened.
Right, it was after Tambourine Man, and
all I really want to do got a little bit scuttled by the
Sonny and Cher
version.
Right.
So
fact,
you were looking for a
Bob
new single.
came and said, you let me down, man. After all I really wanted to do.
That's very funny.
It was funny.
The night of the Kennedy Center honors, Roger did it completely solo. On that beautiful stage, directly to you up there in the balcony, Pete. Is it possible to do it as a interstate duet on the show today?
Yeah, I'd have to change the key because I did it in this key, but this is where you
do it in the key you want to. I'll just listen to it.
Okay,
Seriously.
no, you can play along because it'll be in the same key that the Bells of Rumney was in. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.